What's up, guys? This is a tech review. So guys, this is an idea that I've wanted to do for a very, very long time now, and I haven't done it, I haven't pulled the trigger because I'm not very good at it, I'm not an expert. Disclaimer number one, I am not an expert at tech reviews. I know very little to none about tech. This is just my honest opinion that I'm gonna give to you, and you guys can take it for what it is. Today, obviously, we're talking about cameras. What is the best camera for vlogging? And we're gonna be comparing the Lumix G7 to the Canon 70D and the Canon T5i. Ever since I've started vlogging, every single vlog I've made has been on a Canon video camera. The T5i is where I started, and then I've started using the 70D for a lot of my videos, and I've never used a Lumix before. My buddy just ordered it, he got it in, and I was like, hey, you know what? Let's compare the Canons to the Lumix, see what's better about the Canons, what's better about the Lumix, give it to the people, and let them decide what they like better about each one. I would say the main flaws of the Canon T5i is that it has old technology in it, and the autofocus is very, very, very slow. You know, when you're shooting something out in front of you and then you pan back to your face, it takes 5-10 seconds just to notice that your face is there and focus on it, and it's very frustrating, especially when you're doing some run and gun shooting, which is vlogging. It's run and gun every day, and you know, you need a good autofocus. So I've honestly been trying to switch cameras, I just don't have the dough. So the Canon T5i autofocus sucks. So my first impressions when picking up the Lumix G7 is that it's very small. It's a mirrorless camera, so that automatically means that it's going to be very, very tiny, nice and small in the hands, which will make it very easy to travel with, bring around with you anywhere. That's my one gripe with Canon cameras, is they're very big, very large cameras, and they generally have very big lenses on them. I mean, look at this thing, man. That thing is a beast. So, with these smaller mirrorless cameras, I feel that they're very ideal for vlogging because they're small, they're very easy to travel around with, and they don't take up a huge amount of room. When I pick it up, I notice it has these things on them. I don't know, I guess it's for the straps for the camera, but they do make this rattling noise. So when you're filming, the microphone is definitely 100% gonna pick that up. Lumix, why not put in something that's static on the camera, not something that can rattle around, because it's just gonna make terrible audio quality. Come on, Lumix, what were you thinking? Now before we go outside and actually shoot with this Lumix to see how it looks, I wanna talk about lenses. So as you can see, this has a pretty small lens on it. Micro Four Thirds lenses are generally very, very small when you compare to full frame lenses. Look at this thing, it's monster. It's good and it's bad at the same time. Obviously these lenses are very small, very compact, easy to travel around with, but I feel like with Micro Four Thirds lenses, you are very, very limited. What I mean by that is, with all my Canon lenses, I can take one off the 70D, take it off here, and transfer it right over to the 1DX. Just like that, and then we're good to go. Now, with a Micro Four Thirds lens, I wouldn't be able to take this off and put it onto a full frame camera because it's Micro Four Thirds. So if you were to go get a full frame Lumix camera, you would not be able to take this lens off and put it on that full frame camera because it would distort the image quality on that full frame camera and it would just not look good. So my thing is you're very limited with the lenses that you get with this Micro Four Thirds camera. Something to think about if you do want to play around with mixing a lot of lenses up. Obviously Canon has a very, very huge selection of lenses that you can use, and that's what I love about it, is I can take a lens off here, stick it on here, take a lens from here, stick it on there, whatever. It's like Apple products. They all sync together and you can use them all interchangeably without any problems, and it's something that I like very, very much about Canon and their lenses. All right, let's go outside, shoot with the Lumix, see. What's in there? autofocus real good, picks up right on your face, right when you pan to it. Good job, Lumix. Good autofocus technology. Something you need in every vlogging camera. First impressions, this thing's great. All right. Initial thoughts on the Lumix G7. It's pretty nice. It's got everything that a vlogger would want in a camera, and that is this. It has a flip out screen, so you can see yourself when you're vlogging, which is 100% key. If the camera itself does not have a flip out screen, it is no good for vlogging, and this is why. You need a flip out screen. One, so that you can tell you're in focus, you as the subject or whatever you're shooting, and two, so you can tell if you, the subject, are centered in the frame, because it'd be very hard for me just to come here, I have the camera, I'm vlogging, it doesn't have a flip out screen, and I'm like, oh man, I hope I'm in focus, oh man, I hope I'm centered on the screen. With the flip out screen, there's no hoping. You know, you 100% know if you're in focus, and you 100% know if you're in the center of the screen, which is why I 100% refuse to get the Sony A7S, because it doesn't have a flip out screen. It doesn't even have a touch screen. I mean, what the heck, Sony? You need a flip out screen for vloggers, and literally thousands of vloggers use that Sony A7S and struggle with it. I guarantee they struggle with it every day. To not have that flip out screen, not know if they're in focus, and not know if they're centered on the screen. To me, I just wouldn't spend all that money for such a good camera when it doesn't have the basic things that I need to vlog, which is a flip out screen and even just a touch screen. I mean, come on, Sony. Canon's been having touch screens since like before I was born. Why can't you put a touchscreen on there? I know we're not talking about Sony's, back to the Lumix. Next thing I really like about the Lumix is, like I said before, it's nice and small, so it's very easy to travel around with. I've often found that the Canons are very big and girthy, and they're just kind of a bother to carry around with you all the time, and it's sometimes very hard to do, sometimes very annoying, and with this Lumix I could see it being very convenient and easy to travel around with. Lastly, the autofocus on this thing is pretty good. You know, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10 or so. It's good enough for vlogging, that's 100%, and you know what? A good autofocus in a camera is, I know it may seem kind of weird, but it is a huge deciding factor on if you want to get the camera or not. The fact that it has a touchscreen allows for you to pick your focus points very, very easily, and you know, when you're run and gun vlogging, you can say, hey, I want you to focus on that tree. No, just kidding, now you're going to focus on my face, and you can just do all that instantaneously by touching on the screen wherever you want it to focus. That is huge. Lumix, good job with the touchscreen. So, like I said, I would not recommend the Canon T5i because the autofocus, man, it sucks. But on the newer cameras, like the 70D and the 1DX, they've upped the autofocus technology, the face tracking technology, and the autofocus on the newer Canons, very, very good. So if you are going on the Canon route, I would tell you to maybe not go for the T5i and try to save some money. Maybe shell out a couple extra $100, upgrade to the 70D, the 80D, because the autofocus technology on them is much, much better than the older Canons. This camera does in fact come action-packed with 4K capabilities, which neither the T5i or the 70D do. But you know, if you want to drop around 6,000 bucks, you get yourself a good old 1DX and have 4K capabilities up to 60 frames per second. I mean, guys, what could be any better? Just cost you about $5 grand, you know. But that's on a whole nother level. That's not a vlogging camera. Maybe it is, ask Peter McKinnon. That's what he uses. So to sum it all up, guys, the Lumix G7 seems like a great camera for vlogging. I haven't used it at all for vlogging. This is literally my first impression of it. The only thing I would say, Lumix, lose the stupid jingles on the camera. But overall, it's got the flip out screen. That automatically means that it's, you know, pretty good for a vlogging camera. It's got the touch screen for autofocus. That's another huge plus. It shoots in 4K. It's got a very, very small form factor, which means it's gonna be great to travel with. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the Lumix G7, guys. For those of you that have a G7 and use it to vlog, comment down below, let me know what you think. But my first impressions, guys, this thing, I think it would be great for vlogging. This has been a tech review with Chris. I know I've never done this before. It may suck and may be the worst video I've ever made, but if you did like it, hit the thumbs up. Let me know if you want me to make more. I know I'm not an expert at anything tech-wise, but I get to give you my personal opinion, and you get to hear it from someone that's not maybe an expert, and you know, see what the dumber version of an expert thinks about these products. So there it is, Lumix G7. I give her a thumbs up.